Rubank Elementary, Lesson 11. Lesson 11, we introduce our high notes. Now, high notes on the clarinet are a beast in themselves because if you make the slightest misalignment with your mouth, with your fingers, you're going to squeak. So before we start, just embrace that you're going to squeak and don't get tense and uptight about that. You're going to make some horrible noises until you figure out how to control everything. So just accept it, embrace it, get ready to make some horrible sounds. Our first note in exercise 1 is our C and then our high G. Now we've used these two notes because our first 3 fingers don't need to change. The only thing that needs to change is we add the register key on the back of the clarinet. Now what this means is that we play our C, which is 3 fingers, plus our thumb on the back, and then with the tip of our thumb, I actually use the side of my thumb, we need to push down that register key so that we open it. Now this should give us a higher note. Nothing in our mouth should really change, although you might feel that the back of your throat opens up a little bit more. So our low C sounds like this. And then all I do is I add on that thumb to open the register key and I'm going to get a high G. Now, if you have any finger not covering a hole in some way, you're going to squeak. If you're biting or your mouth is somehow really tense or you're using the wrong muscles, particularly if you're using the muscles down here at the bottom of your chin as opposed to the ones just here on your lip, you're going to squeak. So let's give exercise 1 a go. 1, 2, 3. So work on that because every exercise after this, we're adding more fingers. So if you're squeaking on this first 2 notes, you're going to find that the rest of them are going to be very, very tricky. Now, if you're really struggling to get out that note at all, there could be a couple of issues. Perhaps you're biting really hard from the top and bottom, and therefore you're closing off the space between the mouthpiece and the reed. So although we want a firm embouchure, we want it tight on the left and the right. We do not want to be biting from the top to the bottom, because if we do that, we close that little tiny space between the reed and the mouthpiece. We don't want to do that. So once you've mastered the C and G, we can move on to the F. Now the F is exactly the same as our low B flat. So we play our low B flat and add your register key on the back and we will get an F. Now if we're having a look at exercise 2, we start with our G, which is our 3-finger G, and then we add our 4th finger and we get an F, and then we take our 4th finger off and we get a G again. And these are the different notes that we're going to go through in this exercise. Let's give it a go. 1, 2, 3. Now hopefully that was a little bit easier than moving between that C and G because our finger that we had to move was this one right here rather than moving our thumb, which has the habit of releasing something and causing something to leak. Exercise 3. Now we're introducing our E. So we had our G, which is 3 fingers. We added our 4th finger to get our F, and now we're adding our 5th finger to get our E. Now, if you've ever played saxophone or flute or something along those lines, you might notice a little bit of familiarity between these notes and the fingerings you need and what we would use on a saxophone or a flute. Okay, exercise 3. 1, 2, 3. Now to go from those really high notes down to those low, you might need to do a little bit of adjustment, but it needs to be inside your mouth. So when we do high notes, we're thinking more E, we're pulling up the sides of our mouth. When we're playing low notes, we're going ooh, we're dropping down the sides of our mouth. Our throat also needs to copy that. So when we're playing high, think about when you sing, ah, we open up our throat and we really bring it up. Then if we want a low note, oh, we're going to drop things and make things very open. So have a feel with that sensation. So it's like lifting the soft palate, lifting the back of the throat for high notes and really dropping it and lowering it for low notes. That will help you get those notes first time, rather than having to bite to get high notes and really kind of relax the mouth to get low notes. So we don't want to be biting. Do it in your throat, not top and bottom lips. Let's try exercise 4 using those 3 notes, the G, F, and E. 1, 2, 3. And now for exercise 5, where we introduce the D. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're squeaking on any of the previous notes, every time we add a finger, add a difficulty, because there's another variable, another finger that could be leaking. So if you haven't mastered some of the higher notes, perhaps go back to the G, exercise 1, and work on getting that. And when you can get it to speak every single time, work your way down. Our D, we need 6 fingers, so it's the same as our low G below the staff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we want our thumb and our register key on the back. And this will give us a D, which should sound like this. Okay, let's give exercise 5 a go. 1, 2, 3. Another tip, if you're struggling to have the notes come out, is to slur between them. In other words, don't stop the air. So each of these is played by adding or removing a finger. So if you're struggling to get the really high notes, but you're able to get some of the lower ones, then play that note and move your fingers up. Once you've got that note, try and stop the air, don't move, and restart the air and see if you can get that note again. If you can't, then try it again. After a while, you'll get the sensation of what it needs to feel like in your mouth, in your throat, and how you need to have your lips and your embouchure to be able to get these high notes. Remember, biting, not what we want to be doing. You do not want to have a lot of pressure top and bottom. We do want to be tight left and right, but not top and bottom. And now exercise 6. 1, 2, 3. Exercise 7, and we have our C. Now our C, we play our D and we add our pinky. Now make sure it's the bottom pinky on the top set of pinkies. And that will give us a note lower than our D, and it should sound like this. So let's give exercise 7 a go. 1, 2, 3. And now exercise 8. No new notes, just the ones that we've learned in this lesson. 1, 2, 3. Exercise 9 introduces our B natural. So our B is similar to our C. We have all 6 fingers like our D. We add our pinky for our C, and then we want the other inside pinky. Now this B can be played without our right hand pinky. So you don't actually have to have that one down, but let's play with it down for now because it will make movements between B and C very easy. Exercise 9. 1, 2, 3. Exercise 10 is the C scale, or the C major scale, descending. Now, scales are technical things that we really should be learning because all of our music is based on scales. So our C major scale has no sharps or flats, starts on a C, ends on a C. So what we want to do is we want to start on this high C, and you'll notice that it's descending first. So that allows us time to really place our fingers and then work down the scale. So starting with our C, which is like our D with our bottom pinky, then we want to move down to our B, means that we need to add our left hand pinky, and then we go to our A, G, F, and so on down to our low C. Exercise 10. 1, 2, 3. The most difficult movement is going to be that B to A. So if you need to, practice just those two notes. Go A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A. And that will slowly teach your fingers what they need to do and where they need to go to cover holes and create those two notes. Exercise 11. Same scale, but this time we're going up. 1, 2, 3. If you're not happy with your sound, really think about the inside of your mouth. Now, I'm going a little bit more advanced. If you're a beginner and you're just getting the notes, just get the notes out. If you feel that you're getting that fairly easily and you want to improve the tone, try and think about the inside of your mouth. We really want to be dropping our tongue, lifting our soft palate, and having an open throat. If we do those things, the next thing is to worry about our chin, making sure that it's flat. So instead of we really want to flatten it. All of these things combined help us to create a really nice warm sound. If you have a really tight mouth and you're using the muscles along the bottom of your chin, you have a biting sensation, which means that you're actually restricting the amount of air that can get through the instrument. When you open up your throat, like when you're yawning, we have warm air rather than cold air. Warm air creates a nicer sound. And having space inside our mouth is where the sound resonates from. So imagine that your mouth is like the body of a violin or the body of a guitar. That is where the sound is coming from. So the more space that you have in there, the more that you're going to be able to resonate and create a warmer sound. Now, as I said, these are getting quite advanced. Playing long notes and really focusing on this can be really beneficial, but if you're just learning notes and trying not to squeak, I wouldn't be stressing just yet. Just get some notes out first, and you can always go back and work on tone at a later date. Finally, our last exercise for the page, number 12. 1, 2, 3. This is possibly the most beneficial exercise on the page and also the most challenging. Now this is because we're going over that I called the break. We're going from an A or a B flat, which is very few fingers, to a B or a C, where we're putting all of our fingers on. Now this is challenging because you're moving a lot of fingers, and if even one of those isn't covering a hole, you'll create a leak. So exercise 12 is going to be extremely challenging, but it is the most beneficial exercise, I would say, on this page.